In the Bridges of Shangri-La, you get this board here with all these different paths leading to these different villages where you're going to be having masters and students kind of occupy an area and move out to occupy other areas. You're going to get about, 5, 10, 15, 23 bridges to cover the broken bridge section. You're going to get 2 player aids, which are on this side here, but also show you how you could set up the game if you're not experienced in strategy for setting up the game. You're going to get these different tokens here. You're going to have 7 different schools that your masters work in, and then you're going to have 6 tokens in each stack. You're going to have these little green beads to put on the board when a village becomes completely separated, broken off from the other villages. So in the case here with these bridges being broken, you would place a stone on there to show that it is closed off, and then you get your rule book. So the first thing you might want to do when setting up the game is placing the bridges on the broken territories. As long as there's a bridge there, people can go across the path from one village to another. You'll notice up in the corner there's one village that is a different color. That is a village that would not be used if you're playing a 3-player game. You do use it in a 4-player game. So likewise, you would remove the bridges that connect to it, and you would remove one of the stones from the game. The next thing you're going to do would be passing out the tokens to each player. And then you're going to be taking the tokens and putting them onto the board. So in setting up the game, each player is going to place one of each of the different symbols onto the board into a village. So for example, if I was the red player, and let's say the red player went first, he could take this tile and stick it here in this village on the corresponding symbol. Or he could stick it in any village on the board because they all have that symbol. Then it would be the next player's turn, and yellow could place any one of these he wants. He doesn't have to play the same one. He could choose the dragon, and if he wanted to, he could place it in the same village as the red player, or he could start off in a different village like this if he wanted to. So the rules for placing is that you can't have more than 3 tiles total in a village to start, and you can't have more than 2 of the same color. So blue, if blue wanted to stick this tile here, they could. And then if purple also wanted to get in that village and stuck a tile there, they could. And then that village is now closed off because there's 3 tiles. So when it goes back to red, maybe red sticks this tile over here in this village. And now that it's back to yellow, if yellow wants to, they could put a second tile into this village, because again, the rule is it can't have more than 3 total, and it can't have more than 2 of the same color. Yellow has 2 of the same color. There are not yet 3 there. So that's a legal move. Then blue, if they wanted to, they could come up and place here, and so on and so forth. As long as once all of these 28 tiles are out onto the board, again, no more than 3 tiles per village, and no more than 2 of the same color in a village. And so here's an example of the board setup. So now it has its bridges. It has all the different places have tiles in them. Not all of them have 3. As you can see, this one only has 1. That one has none. But there, like I said, there shouldn't be more than 3. That one only has 2. There shouldn't be more than 3 in a village, and no village should have more than 2 of the same color. So on a player's turn, you have 3 options of what to do. You can place a master tile, which is essentially taking a tile that you have and putting it out into a village that doesn't already have that tile. So for example, if red wanted to, they could take this tile here and they could add it to this village there, because there is nobody occupying that space, and that could be red's move. All right, so that's one option that you have, is to place a tile out onto the board to occupy an empty space. Your second option is to recruit students. So what you can do is you can take up to 2 tiles from your supply here and place them out onto the board as students learning from a master. So for example, what that would look like is taking a tile that's already out on the board. So if this is my master could train another student, so I would just put a second tile on top of him. Now I get to do 2 tiles, so I could place a second one here, but I don't have to place in the same village if I wanted to. I could grab a rain cloud and put it up here. Now that master is trained a student, and that master has trained a student. A master may not train any more than 1 student. You can never have more than 2 tiles stacked on top of each other. So before I go into the third action, which is Journey of the Students, let me just go through a couple of these. So let's just say the yellow player is going to recruit a master in this village, and the blue player is going to recruit a student into this village and a student into this village up here. And let's say purple is going to get a master in that village. Then it goes back to red. Red's going to put a master in that village. All right, so when the students do a journey, there's 2 things you have to do, or there's one thing you have to determine right away, is if the person making the journey is in the stronger or the weaker village. So, for example, let's say it was Red's turn. And Red is going to move from this village up to this village here. All right, so in this village up here, there are 1, 2, 3, 4 tiles. In this village, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 tiles. All right, 6 versus 4. This is the greater village, and they're traveling from this village to that village, meaning the stronger is going to the weaker. So what's going to happen is all these students move from the village. So in this village, there's only 1 student. So let's just add another one. So let's just say blue had someone there. All right, so even though Red's the person taking the turn, and Red's going to move from this village to this village, all students move at the same time. So this is a student, and this is a student. So what's going to happen is this student is going to move along the path into this village here and occupy that space. And this student is going to go along, even though it's not Blue's turn, their student is still going to move, and they're going to go along, and that student's going to go into that village. And then what happens is the bridge is broken, and now you cannot travel from this village to that village any longer. The ending result is this has 5 people in it now, and this one has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people in it. So this is now a stronger village, but it can't go back to the way it just came. All right, so likewise, let's say you're in this example. So now let's say it's yellow's turn, or let's say it's blue's turn. And blue is going to compare this, going to go from this village to this village, right? So this has 1, 2, 3, 4 people in it. This one has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people. So this is the stronger village. So it's going to go from stronger to weaker. There are 2 students in the village, and they are going to move. All right, so the blue student moves, and he becomes a master in that village. Now the yellow student goes over, but because this village has a master and a student in it already, you cannot have more than 1 student. So this token is returned to the player. It's taken off the board and given back to the player. So maybe he was going on the journey, and then the bridge collapsed, and then he fell into oblivion, and somewhere along the way another student comes along, right? So that is removed from the board. So now blue doing that has weakened yellow's influence in this region and not given yellow any more influence in this region because that extra token died. So that is another example of stronger going to weaker. Let's see if I can find another example. All right, so let's take a look at this example. All right, so let's say it's Red's turn. So in this village there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 people. In this village there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is the stronger village. Red is going to move from here to here. So all the students move. So this is going to move and this is going to move. And what happens is the stronger, if it moves into a weaker village and those spaces are already occupied, people who are occupying the space in the weaker village are removed. So purple is going to lose this one to the stronger red player, and purple is also going to lose this one to the stronger blue player. Even if purple had a master and a student there, as long as this is more powerful and it's moving to this region, these would be removed. They would go back to the player's supply. They're not out of the game. And then this would go there, and then the bridge would be broken. And again, so now you can see in this village, red is dominating this village, and blue is in second place. So you can see there's only one way into this village still, and that is across this bridge. So if blue wanted to, they could, well, they'd have to get a student, but let's just say blue recruited a student on some turn. Let's say they recruited this student here. All right, so it's 3 and 3. If blue wanted to, they could like give up this village, all right, and move their student into this village. So there's only a master here, so the student just stays as a student and becomes a student in this village. This bridge would be broken. Now this village is completely cut off from all other areas. There would be a stone on it saying nothing can change in this village. And blue has kind of resigned that village, but given himself some strength in this village. And what he can try and do, since 2 of the bridges are broken, is try and build up some strength here maybe and break off these bridges before somebody else gets in there to kind of get dominance of that region. All right, so now let's talk about going from a weaker village to a stronger village. So in this village there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 tiles. And then this one there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So this is the stronger village. This is the weaker village. Now let's say it's yellow's turn. They can choose to go from the weaker village to the stronger village. And what would happen is this tile and this tile would move across the bridge into the other village. Now, the yellow tile is going into a space that is empty. So it's actually going to just go over and plant itself in that village. But the blue tile is leaving this region and it's traveling across and it's finding that it is coming into an opponent who already occupies that space. Since this is the weaker village going into the stronger village, the blue is actually going to lose this conflict, if you want to call it that, and this is going to go back to the supply of the blue player, and this bridge is going to be broken. And so what yellow has done is yellow has kept things pretty much tied here with blue player, but yellow only had 1 dragon here and red had 2 dragons, and there was a chance that if somebody moved like purple or red into this village, the purple would have moved in and red would have moved in and kicked out yellow's dragon. So by making that move, yellow actually gained a spot here, stopped the chance of red moving into this village down here and taking over the area there. And so there's still going to be a competition between blue and yellow in this area, but they've kind of kept out purple and red from coming in. Of course, you have these regions that could be built up and come across into here, and same up this path there still. But again, they're just trying to solidify their control and look for opportunities where they're weak, and maybe yellow was acting on an opportunity where it saw it was weak in comparison to this village and wanted to protect itself. The other option, thing that can happen is if villages are tied. So if, for example, you had, here. All right. So here is 4 and 4. All right. And let's even say, since you're going to do a movement, let's say it's not like that. Let's say it's like 4 and 4. All right. So in this situation, there are 4 tiles here and 4 tiles here. If blue wanted to move into here, you'd have to determine strength. But when it's 4 and 4, the thing you do is determine, well, who has the most masters? So even though there's 4 tiles here, there's only 1, 2, 3 masters versus 4 masters here, meaning that this is stronger. Now, if blue wanted to move into here, that would be fine because blue would take its student, move into an unoccupied space, the bridge would break, blue would gain more dominance here, and it's fine, that works out. If it was in a situation like this, So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, so here it's tied. There's 4 masters here. There's 4 masters here. There's 5 tiles here. There's 5 tiles here. If you are going to determine who is stronger, if this village decided to move into this village and everything was tied looking at masters and total number of tiles, then what happens is the village that you're moving into is the stronger village. So if blue wanted to move into here, this would be considered the weaker village, but that would be okay because there's no threat to blue and they would be able to pop in right there and destroy this bridge. All right, so that is dealing with ties. So that's basically it. You have your choices of adding a master. So red could add a master here, and that's their turn. Yellow could add a student here. You could add 2 students and could add a student up there. All right, that's the other option, adding students. And then again, the other option is the movement. This village can move into this village. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 versus 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the stronger village. So if yellow wanted to move here, yellow would move in. There's no occupation there. There's no occupation there. Red doesn't have any double tiles. This bridge is broken, and so on and so forth. And again, once all the bridges are broken, if later, let's say red wanted to move from this village to this village, red could go across that path to break that. And then since, well, there's actually, so then since this one is, no more bridges connecting it, then you would now have it broken off and you'd place your little bead on top of it. So the last thing you do is determine who would win, who has won the game. So what's going to happen is once all of these beads are out on the game, there's 12 in total. There's 13 villages, 12 beads, meaning there's going to be a village that still is could possibly be connected, or maybe that couldn't happen. I don't remember. But anyway, once all 12 beads are out, the game ends, and then you just count who has the most masters on the board, and they become the winner. So you don't count students. So if I was counting this would be 1 point for purple, 1 point, 2 points for red, and this would be 1 point for blue. Over here, this would be not counted. This would be 1 point for yellow, another point for yellow. Blue has 3 there. And so you can see, so right now blue has 4 to 2 to 1 to 2. So again, it's just whoever has the most masters, students don't count. So in this village, if this was broken off, this student wouldn't count. This student wouldn't count. This student wouldn't count. And then these remaining tiles there would count. And then whoever has the most is the winner of the game. And that is the Bridges of Shangri-La.